All right, good morning. It's 3 minutes after 8 o'clock. Spread the word. We just have some brief messages for you as you await the results of the 2025 elections, general and regional elections in beautiful Guyana.
Onward, onward, may we ever go. Day by day, strengthening to grow. Till our plenty, just to show that the sons of God are standing. Born in the land of that shore shining splendor, land of the mountains and roads of never. We live the sense of the virtues and graces, free of the glory of goodness and word. Onward, onward, may we ever go. Day by day, strength and beauty grow. Till at length we reach the destination, and the sons of God standing. Born in the land where my soul Eldorado, land of the diamonds and bright shining gold. We will build up our faith on the labor, for the southern seas we wish never was onward, onward, may we ever go. Day by day, strength and beauty grow. Till at length we reach the western shore, where Guyana suns and dawns
Here Antibes, here Antibes, here Antibes, Allah. 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 For the morning cock and crow, here Antibes, Allah. I see a bundle, there we go, here Antibes, Allah. For the morning cock and crow, here Antibes, Allah. I see a bundle, there we go, here Antibes, Allah. Here Antibes, here Antibes, here Antibes, Allah. Here Antibes, here Antibes, here Antibes, Allah. Washahala, washahala, washahala fa. Yeshahala, yeshahala, here Antibes, Allah. Washahala, washahala, washahala fa. Yeshahala, yeshahala, here Antibes, Allah.
All right, good morning. I know you guys are surprised to see me this early in the morning. Usually it's not my time in the morning, but I'll tell you guys this though. I'll tell you guys this in terms of what's happening in Guyana. The votes are still being quote unquote counted, and and don't be surprised because as the votes are being counted right now, the books. Let me just say to you guys, the books are being cooked up. I repeat, the books are being cooked up. And you know, they have a saying, two thieves make God laugh, right? Two thieves make God laugh. Because if you know you have an opponent who knows about your rigging, who knows about the strategies of rigging and stuffing ballot boxes, why are you going to want to take chances like that? Because two thieves make God laugh. But in all of this, I tell you guys this, that Guyana bleeds. Guyana is not the winner. Either way you look at it, Guyana is not the winner. I'm just gonna tell you guys this. Guyana is not the winner in all of this because no country would be able to grow in terms of corruption, in terms of vindictiveness and fighting of each other for political power. It's not going to grow. It's not going to go anywhere. Look, I hope I'm wrong, but I'm an optimist, but I'm seeing the writing is on the wall. From the get-go, you already know that the intention of the Win Party was to penetrate the opposition support base, and penetrate they did. Penetrate the opposition support base, walk right there, as they would say, if you guys understand what it means by saying walk right there, because that's where it's going to stick. Walk right there, walk right there, and that's it. And so some of you might not have seen this from the beginning because look, I don't want to insult people with emotions again, but it's not about healing the country. It's about healing individuals. And when you have folks walk right there, the end result is what it is. And it's nothing is official as yet. But all I'm saying to you is, as I speak to you here now, the books are being cooked up. Those books are being cooked up. And when you expect a free and fair results, you might be expecting too much. You might be expecting too much. Now, if you check now in terms of what's coming from the PPP side, they're not going to come out and tell you that they are cooking up the SOPs, that they are cooking things up now, and so forth and so on. They're not going to come out and say to you that this whole thing was, in my opinion, a diabolical plan to go right after PNC support base, to destroy, to dominate PNC support base. And people had hundreds of millions of dollars to do that. You splattered the money all over. You make sure that people get money to do this and do that. Just an overnight something, mind you, just an overnight something. I know some of your bumps are going to be raised early morning because you don't want to hear the truth. The objective was pretty clear. And if the opposition couldn't see why Win got into the race, Win was never anti-PPP. Don't be fooled. They've already made it clear that they're going to work with the PPP. They've already made it clear what they were about. It's a pity that some of the PNC people couldn't see it from the beginning. And so the end result is what it is. But nothing official at this point in time. Absolutely nothing official. But do not be surprised. Do not be surprised. And this is what I want you guys to know. Take heed. Some of you may already know. Do not be surprised. Do not, I repeat, do not be surprised if they come to you guys to say that they have won the elections with a majority. Do not be surprised if this happens at all. Just do not be surprised, because they are cooking the books as we speak. They know how to cook the books. Do not be fooled. They know how to cook. I repeat, they know how to cook the book. And they are cooking the book. So when the results, when the official, so-called official results are finally declared, do not be surprised if you hear that the PPP, gave themselves a 3, a 4, maybe a 5 seat, maybe a 6 seat. Who knows? Who knows? And now you can't say that you haven't heard it here, because the end result is what it is. But it's the cooking of the books is what it is. The cooking of the books at this point in time. Remember Jack Dale and all these guys were talking about a landslide victory and all manner of things. A landslide victory. Here's what they knew. They knew exactly that Win were deliberately set out to go after the opposition support base. So if you go after the opposition support base and you spend hundreds of millions of dollars to do that, what do you expect? Hundreds of millions of dollars to go after the opposition support base. But the opposition guys, some of them couldn't see that. They couldn't see what Win was all about. It wasn't about doing good for country. It was about destruction. Some of them might be upset because I used the word destruction. because that is what exactly it is. And so when you have hundreds of millions of dollars and you spend it and you bought people over and you do whatever that's necessary to destroy the opposition, well, the PPP is having, of course, they're not losing plenty sleep, but they didn't expect the plan to work and probably be 5 times more damage to the opposition than what the PPP expected. Um, so what Win Party was able to do was to move into some of the PPP support base, a few of the PPP support base, because they understood what happened in the 2020 elections. And as they understood what happened in the 2020 elections, that is what got the PPP a bit concerned, because the PPP at the last minute, they realized that the folks at Win was being overly ambitious. And so again, they know the method that was used in 2020, and Win guys apply that very method. And you know what that method I'm talking about. And so the PPP got a little jittery, like, hey, what is happening here? And so they went back to the drawing board. And as we indicated to you last evening, they went back into Freedom House. They went back to the drawing board. GCOM had to shut down operation, so to speak. They weren't given. They claimed that there was a blackout. Throughout Linden, they had blackout. Throughout Kokwani, they had blackout. Throughout Ituni, they had blackout. And other parts of Guyana, it appears that they had deliberate blackout. So you block out the place so that you can do mischief, right? When people expect GCOM to be transparent and to give the numbers as they were getting it, GCOM wasn't able, they weren't doing that. They weren't given the numbers as they should have been giving those numbers. They just weren't. They weren't giving those numbers at all. And so they just had what is called blackout. Oh, they got a blackout. So when you go on GCOM's website to get proper information, you couldn't get the proper information. You just couldn't get the proper information at all. Sorry, I'm just responding to some folks who just wait until I go on air to start texting. So it's highly suspicious. It is highly suspicious that GCOM, people depended on GCOM for information, but they weren't getting. A lot of people were complaining that GCOM website went down. Now, your website doesn't go down and say that it crashed. Come on, billions of dollars pumped into GCOM for the preparations of elections. You're telling me you can't get a proper and upgraded server at GCOM in anticipation of this big so-called crashing of your website, because tons and tons of people, hundreds of thousands of people are going to tune in, are going to log on to your website to get the results. You're telling me logistically you cannot and you did not prepare for that? Of course they prepared for that. Of course they knew that. They have gone through several elections before to know that they have the money, they should spend the money, they should be prepared for that. And they were prepared. And so this Jim Cockring Ramgold story about GCOM website crash, every time they say GCOM website crash, is that when they see something that went against them, guess what? They got to go back to the drawing board. They got to go back to the in the kitchen to cook this thing up. And that is what it was doing. So in areas where they saw that APNU fell down a little bit and then APNU rise up back in some areas, we got to give APNU some credit. This is not a condemnation of APNU and PMC. They got to go back to the drawing board to figure out what transpired. And what really transpired is that GCOM is the boogeyman in all of this. I repeat, because voters turnout was so low in almost every area. And so that's when you look at it now, it's a recipe to say something wasn't right somewhere along the line. And that's something, again, I repeat this, the boogeyman is really GCOM. Because when you orchestrate a result, when a result is deliberately set to reflect what it is, and I can talk about that more, but not right now on this show. because I have a lot to talk about in terms of this cooking up that is happening right now, the cooking up that is happening right now. I see some of your comments. People want the PPPC to go. Fair enough. But the PPPC fighting right now not to go. Again, I'm going to say to you guys, and good morning to all of you, every single one of you, do not be surprised. Do not be surprised that PPP, the end results, the PPP come back to tell you through GCOM that they have won a majority. Do not be surprised at all. Do not be surprised if they come with a 3-seat majority, a 2-seat majority, a 4-seat majority, or maybe a 5 or 6-seat majority. Do not be surprised at all. Maybe a 7-seat majority. Because remember, Jack Day was telling you all along that they're going to win by a landslide. But it was a monkey wrench. And this monkey wrench has to do with the tricks of the PPP, the tricks that they were able to fraud the elections in 2020. They did that in 2015, but it didn't work. They did that in 2011, but it didn't work because we headed to a minority government. And they did that in 2006 when they robbed the people of Region 10 1 seat. So lots and lots of things are happening right now. And while you guys are looking, whilst you guys are looking at these SOPs, while most of them are accurate, the PPP understands how to rig the elections. And the people in WIN who were with them in 2020, they also know how the PPP and what methods were used to rig the 2020 elections. And that is why I said two thieves make God laugh, right? So it's the two of them battling in areas, in ballot boxes and SOPs. One of the things, though, WIN understood earlier, Clark, is the SOPs. You come out first, you show the SOPs that you're winning in certain areas, and that's what got the PPP upset, because the PPP knew that the boogeyman, GCOM that they're depending on, they knew that the folks, Mohammeds and them, knew about what transpired in 2020. They knew how the elections were rigged in 2020, and the PPP saw the same strategy. So when WIN started to put their SOPs out there, the PPP's bumps raised. They called a meeting immediately at Freedom House, immediately, because they didn't like the fact that WIN started to put out the SOPs. Now, they called the people at GCOM, I'm assuming this because they had to have done that. So when they called the people at GCOM to tell the people, to instruct the people to issue a statement through GCOM, to say that the SOPs, those their friends, Azradine and them were putting out there, are fake SOPs. They're fake SOPs. But wait a minute. Two thieves make God laugh, right? But wait a minute. Wasn't that the same strategy that the PPP used against coalition government in 2020, when the same PPP didn't wait for GCOM to issue any official statement? The same PPP didn't wait for GCOM to start issuing SOPs. The PPP ran out of the barracks, so to speak, and they started issuing their own SOPs. And they were telling the nation then that their SOPs were legitimate SOPs. But when those guys, their friends in WIN, started to release their SOPs, the PPP said, no. Those are not the real SOPs. Those are fake SOPs. And right away, I'm like, karma. And so it wasn't surprising, though, to hear GCOM say, hey, wait a minute. GCOM said, no, those are not real SOPs. The same GCOM who didn't issue a statement when the PPP were issuing fake. And we know those SOPs that the PPP were issuing in the 2020 elections were fake SOPs. GCOM remained silent. The chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission remained silent, didn't say a word about those fake SOPs. And to this day, they know that the fake SOPs that were issued by the PPP were fake SOPs. And so the psychological warfare started there, where they hatched this plan up to go after the coalition folks and to claim that they rigged the elections, when in fact the coalition guys never rigged the elections. But the boogeyman then was Claudia Singh and others. And the trick in all of this was to manipulate the SOPs, manipulate the spreadsheets, and start this public psychological war. And one of the things that Win was able to do was to use that same strategy. And the strategy backfired to some extent with the PPP, because the PPP knew that it was a trick out of their own playbook. And the PPP had to just sit back and remain quiet for the time being. Have you noticed how quiet Jack there was, how subdued he was at that press conference? It is because they realized what was playing out in front of them. Hence, they called this emergency meeting at Freedom House to go back to the drawing board. And part of what was planned at that emergency meeting at Freedom House was to ensure that GCOM stopped the releasing of SOPs. And how are they going to stop it? They are going to stop it. They're going to try to find what they consider to be a plausible reason for GCOM website to go down. GCOM website went down, in my opinion, so that they can cook the books. That is what it's about. So you shut the website down for a couple of hours, you blank people out from any further information, so that when you now resume putting out the information, the books would have been cooked. And so when you are going to see some information coming out soon from GCOM, it's going to make you say, what's happening here? And this is where we are right now. When you start to see the results coming out of GCOM, again, I repeat, when you begin to see the results coming out of GCOM, you are going to have this very expression on your face, and you are going to call your friends and so forth, and you are going to, am I seeing right? This thing couldn't possibly be right. How could the PPP now say to the nation that they have won by a majority? And not just a 1 seat, 2 seat, 3 seat, 4 seat, or whatever. Now, you're going to see it for yourselves, because the books are being cooked right now. Take a little hint from me. The books are being cooked right now. So when you cook up this book and you parcel off seats, and then you come back and you give this result, you're going to say, wait a minute. Okay, so the PPP has a majority. Then the vote split between Win and APNU. I don't think anybody else gets an extra seat. So the vote split maybe equally. Now, I'm just telling you guys to take a hint. Maybe the vote split equally between Win and APNU. Maybe. Or maybe there's a 1 seat leaning towards somebody. Some side is going to end up with a 1 seat over each other with the opposition vote. Now, read between the lines, guys. Read between the lines. We're not here to spread propaganda. We are here to tell you exactly about the cooking of the books. And the cooking of the books will see, again, the opposition fighting to see who will be the main opposition. That is what the fight is about. And watch out for that 1 seat thing, in the opposition. One will get a 1 seat over the other, and it is up to you to decide now who will get that 1 seat over who. Sorry that I'm doing the dancing. I'm trying to show you guys some hint. Who will get that 1 seat? And will it be APNU, or will that 1 seat be APNU? You try to read between the lines what's happening there. There's so much that I want to tell you guys right now, but I can't. But you can read between the lines. And reading between the lines is the books, they are cooking the books up right now. Now, when you look at some of the results in predominantly PPP stronghold area, they always ensure that they had to maintain that lead, so to speak, in their stronghold area. But the cooking up of the book, when you look in predominantly PNC areas, we were seeing different figures. You were seeing that the PPP were doing well. You were seeing WIN was doing well. And then you saw the APNU was struggling in some of their stronghold areas where it was virtually impossible. Now, you have low voters turnout in some polling stations, as the mayor of Linden indicated. Now, in some stronghold areas, like even in South and so forth, a low voters turnout all over. And low voters turnout is never in favor, for most of the time, it's never in favor of the incumbents. But this is probably the first time in history we are hearing, and mind you, this is just my opinion, nothing official as yet. But when it becomes official, you will get back to this conversation that we are having right now to say that the PPP has given themselves a majority. GCOM is going to come to you to tell you that thus far, 75% or 80% of the polls, the polling stations have sent in their results. Based on that 75%, you will see that the PPP, according to how they are cooking the books, have this strong lead. That's what they're going to. So when they come to you now with the 75% polling stations have sent in their results and so forth, and they're signed off and so forth. So at 75% of the polling stations of the votes counted, and they show you that the PPPC has a lead of about 4, 5, or 6 seats. Now read between the lines what they are saying to you right there and then, that the race is over. That is what they are going. And psychologically now they have to play that game with you. So at 75%, and they're showing that they are going to show, mind you, that they are leading. They are going to show that things have picked up in their support base. And what they are going to show is that things have not been looking good in PNC support base. So they are going to go back to what Jack Dio said, that the low voters turnout is as a result of the PNC or APNO. That is what they want. So they're going to play that blame game. They're going to play that psychological game, that mind game with you guys. Be extra careful with that mind game as they cook the elections results. And cooking the elections results, here's my take on this cooking of the results. They may want to put, let's say, for example, I'm just pulling numbers out of my pocket right now. They may want to say that APNU got, I'm just giving an example here, just to pick any numbers, that APNU may have gotten 11 seats. And instead of saying WIN got 11 seats to make it a tie between WIN and APNU, do not be surprised if you hear that WIN got 12 seats and APNU got 11 seats. And doing that now will cause serious problems amongst the main opposition support base, which is APNU PNC. And the PNC folks are going to say, how the heck that happened? And then the blame game, and then the psychological scar, and so forth and so on. And look, if you guys, and that's just how I analyze this elections. From day one, I've been saying that WIN's objective is to go after the main opposition support base. That is what I maintain. That I have absolutely no apologies for that. At the end, when GCOM declares their so-called official results, you will see exactly what I'm talking about, because it was designed, the end results, it was designed from the inception to reflect what it is right now. And so be careful with the psychological games. Be careful, but watch out for that one seat, fighting of a one seat majority between the WIN and APNU. Just watch out for that. Again, that's my prediction. Let's go back to the cooking of the books. How many of you believe that the books are being cooked right now? Again, let me reiterate that that is my opinion. that the PPP, along with operatives of GCOM, are cooking the books. Don't be surprised that if you go back now on GCOM's website, you hear that it crashed again. But here, when the GCOM's website is no longer going to crash. It's no longer going to crash. It's going to have a smooth flow. A smooth flow. When the PPP is comfortable that the books have already been cooked sufficiently. Real cooking of the books. So when they come to you with 75% of the polling stations are in, watch out for that. Watch out for that. Watch out for that smooth flow. Watch out for that smooth flow. Here, why to watch out for that smooth flow? The watch out for the smooth flow is to give you guys the impression that all is well, and that GCOM has been transparent, and GCOM had so much that they had to do, and they're now giving you this information. They now watch out for the rigging at GCOM. Watch out for the cooking of the books at GCOM. And so this 75% in polling stations in, and they are going to put their websites back up. So all of you could run to the website and you could see, you say, look at all the polls now. The polling stations are coming in, and the results from District 1, District 2, District this, District that, District, all sort of stuff you are going to be seeing. It's to brainwash you guys. Again, it's to brainwash you guys. Don't fall for that brainwashing. It is just what it is. And Brenda Casey, good morning to you, my friend. You are correct, Brenda. Jagdev is planning to call the elections. And I like people who are thinkers, and Brenda Casey and others. I'm not saying majority of you on watching aren't thinkers. They get some bumps raising people. They're sucking their teeth because they probably think, especially those who support the PPP and some who support Win as well. The die has already been cast, and that's it. And Jagdeo, as Brenda Casey indicated, Jagdeo will call the elections. And you can only call the elections when you're comfortable. And you can only be comfortable once you already make those calls to GCOM and you know that everything is set in place. And once everything is set in place, not to repeat myself, GCOM is now going to suddenly their election, their website at GCOM is all good. It's working well, smooth flow. So now they're comfortable putting out the SOPs. GCOM is now comfortable. Let's put out the results now. And you're going to see a different result. You're going to see the results that make you say, So here's what the results may probably more likely be. PPP is going to give themselves not a one-seat majority. They're not going to take a chance with a one-seat majority because they know people have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend to buy people, as what we've witnessed in these elections, right? So it's not just the PPP that had money to spend. The Mohammeds had money to spend too, and they've been spending that money. They've been spending it. We all know that. They have been spending that money, left, right, and center, spending that money, if you know what I mean. So so don't be fooled. So here is what I think is happening at GCOM. So when they come back to you, they're gonna give you the results very shortly, very soon, right? They're gonna give you the results. The results may be a one-seat difference between the APNU and Win. A one-seat difference. That's just my prediction. And the reason for that one seat is for the fight between APNU and Win to intensify that fight and the psychological war game. Now, hear what the PPP is going to do with the cooking of the books. Again, they do not want a one-seat majority. They do not want a two-seats majority. They do not want a three-seat majority. They are going to be ambitious. And they are going to come back and tell you that they haven't won by just one seat. They're going to paku you that they haven't won by just 2 seats or 3 seats. So they're going to be ambitious. Read between the lines. They are going to be ambitious. They're going to tell you about 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 seats and up. That is what they are going to do. And they are going to justify it by saying that people went out in their numbers and voted in their constituency. But in the APNU constituency, people hardly went out. They're not going to tell you in Port Morant, Rose Hall, and those areas that people hardly went out for them as well. So where this majority came from? Where? Can the PPP explain this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seat majority that they're currently cooking? And they're going to go higher than that. They're going to go higher than 4 seats. They're going to go higher than 5 seats. That is how they're cooking the books. And so when they go higher than that now, it means that even at an elections petition, they will say, those who have problems, go and take it to court. When you go to court, who they got there as the acting Chief Justice? The acting Chief Justice wasn't placed there because the PPP is so concerned about the judicial system. They were placed there for exactly the purpose that the PPP is setting this thing up to be. The acting chancellor, same thing. Why suddenly the acting chancellor gone and leave, and then the PPP rearranged the judicial system by appointing one of their supporters, a man, Navindra Singh, who is now the acting Chief Justice, who openly supports the PPP. Why do you think he was put there? He wasn't put there because they wanted change and any good for the judicial system. No, he was placed there for a particular reason. Acting Chief Justice Roxanne George was sent to become acting Chancellor of the Judiciary for a particular reason. Now, hear the reason. Hear me out. Hear me out. Here's the reason. What if the acting Chancellor, the real acting Chancellor who went on vacation, what if she was there and she refused to accept the results from GCOM and not have Irfan Ali be sworn in for a second term? They didn't want to take a gamble with that. They didn't. And so they did what they believe that they are comfortable with. They are comfortable with GCOM higher ups, Claudette Singh and others. They're comfortable with them there. They're comfortable with the judicial system now because they have their man there as acting Chief Justice, and they have their woman there as acting Chancellor of the Judiciary. They have their man there as the Commissioner of Police. They have their man there as the head Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force. They have their man there as the head of the Guyana Prison Service. So these people have covered their bases all around. They have secured themselves, right? In the event that they have to go. In the event that people are going to rush to the courts right now, they got their man right there as acting Chief Justice to throw the case out and say, no, elections results have been official, and they are going to rush to swear Irfan Ali in for a second term. That is what they are going to do. And that is why, if you guys haven't been reading into this diabolical plan by the PPPC, this sinister plan by the PPPC, well, something wrong with you guys. Something is wrong. Now, Diana Nelson is asking who win. I'm going to assume that Diana Nelson just joined us. So now let me break it down back again for you. The PPP right now is cooking the results. The results will be, and you could say you heard it here first. The results, and my opinion, mind you, it will be a 1-seat difference between APNU and WIN. There will be a 1-seat difference. So this 1-seat difference, and this is how the book is being cooked. Again, just my opinion. So now this 1-seat difference, let's give an example. Say that there is 11 seats for APNU and 12 seats for WIN. That is where the 1-seat difference is going to come. And how they are going to orchestrate this here is they are going to, again, in my opinion, they are going to ensure that Win gets that one seat over APNU. Now, I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion, how they're cooking the books right now. So don't be surprised if they come to you, and I'm talking to APNU support base, PNC support base. Don't be surprised if they come to you and tell you guys now that the country has a new opposition party. And that will be just a one seat margin, a one seat difference. I doubt that they're going to cook the book so much. I doubt that they are going to cook the book so much. I noticed bumps raised in Otto Martin, bumps raised. Otto say you're back in APNU. Well, fair enough. I endorse the APNU, and I still believe that the APNU had the strongest and the best policies for the country. That's just my opinion. You don't know the policies of the others. The PPP has tried and they have failed the people of Guyana. And so I'm not going to back away from APNU. I endorsed APNU. I wanted APNU to win. I felt that they had the best team. They had the best policies. But because of the rigging of elections in Guyana, where it is not transparent at GCOM, we saw that, right, Otto? We saw that, and that sort of bad vibes from GCOM confused folks like Otto Martin, where they weren't sure where they are. They do the Michael Jackson breakdance. They weren't sure where they are, and so Otto, this is not according to your opinion. Yeah, of course it's my opinion, and you will call me. Feel free to call me, but don't have Warren on the line, though, right? I am saying this to you guys, that, and read between the lines, there will be a one seat difference between APNU, and that one seat difference between APNU and Win. A one seat difference. It was designed to be this way. The outcome was designed to be this way. And if any one of you believe, now, Otto, bumps raising. Otto, we all knew that the rigging was going to take place. We were talking about the rigging, Otto. Weren't you listening to my program, or were you just listening to yourself? You weren't listening to my program, Otto? We knew that the boogeyman in this was GCOM. We all knew it. The smallest child in the street knew that, Otto. Oh, Otto, don't do that to me. It's too early in the morning. So now let's get back. This is about real rigging. It's not about we did what we had to do, because people were confused. They weren't sure what side they real up, down, this, buddy, that, but it's like playing checkers with somebody who don't, or playing chess with somebody who doesn't understand the game. And so when they make a wrong move, they frustrate the system. Now let me say this: this was all designed. The outcome will be they will put APNU one seat below Win. And so they cause that friction now between the increased friction between Win and APNU people. Because people are going to say, how the heck Win got a one seat majority over them? So now the fighting would be in Parliament as to who will be the opposition leader. That is what the fight is going to be, whilst the PPP is going to sit back and laugh, because the PPP will ensure that they give themselves a comfortable majority in this just concluded voting, that is general and regional elections. Now let's get back to GCOM and the cooking of the book. Let's get back to GCOM and the cooking of the books. If the PPP couldn't win Linden, they wanted somebody to win Linden on their behalf. And it appears that that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what has happened. And so the psychological warfare, read between the lines. Read books and understand the strategies. This is not just about emotions and talking and yapping sake. It is deeper. It is deeper than we all can imagine. The psychological warfare, it is deeper. And it's time for those political leaders in the opposition to retrospect. Time for introspection, some serious introspections. Now, free and fair elections, APNU would have gone right ahead of all of them. Don't be fooled. But when you have a rigged system, and when you have a system that is stocked up against you, understand why. Understand what transpired. Understand the reason, and understand the game that was played. And in the end, Guyanese were played. That's all I wish to say at this time as you await the results. And the results will see, my opinion, the results will see that the PPP got a comfortable majority. You will see that GCOM, all of a sudden their website is working now. It's bang on. It's back on track. Joylin Cutting is asking what really happened. Well, what really happened? Elections rigged. The PPP rigged the elections. If people don't want to come out and say it, the PPP rigged the elections. And they're now trying to decide who should be the opposition leader. That is what's going on. I noticed some bombs raising. There's an Anil Chetram is saying you are full of early morning bombs raising. Early morning bombs raising because they don't want to hear the truth that the PPP has rigged the elections. The PPP has rigged the elections. So Kavita K is saying, so once y'all not winning, it was, of course it was rigged, Kavita. If you can't see that, well, something is wrong with you. I don't know what is wrong with you. It's not for me to be a psychiatrist, but I don't know what is wrong. And we don't need a distraction on how did the PPP rig elections, and you weren't listening to me. So you guys continue to pray for Guyana. Continue to pray for Guyana and hope for the best. But like the caption say, thanks to our operator, Guyana bleeds at this time. Guyana did not win. Guyanese did not win. And in order for the PPP to say to you that they have won the 2025 elections, it's a bold step by them. It shows that they have no shame, absolutely none. That's why I say Guyana bleeds. So while they are going to grab the majority of seats, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 6, by 6 seats. So don't be surprised if they come to tell you they got 35, 36, or 37 seats. Don't be surprised. Remember, there were lots of their thousands of so-called people who were given ID cards and they're described as Commonwealth national. Read between the lines. And they were bussing these individuals in. Read between the lines. Keep reading between the lines. The recipe of rigging was there from its inception. When you have the 3 opposition commissioners telling you guys, telling the nation that they have no confidence in GCOM of delivering free, fair, and credible elections, if you couldn't read between the lines then something is wrong. So my opinion is not based on just sitting and just gaffing with you. I wouldn't do that. It's not sitting and gaffing with you at all. So look out for the official results. Just watch out, but don't be surprised because we prepare you for that right here on 107.1 FM. I'm out of here. Guyana bleeds indeed. And it will take lots and lots of, not just prayers, it will take a lot for Guyana to recover. But I remain an optimist, and so should you. God bless you. Have a good rest of the day, but if needs be, you will see me at some point in time again to give you an update. God bless you, and continue to pray for Guyana as Guyana bleeds at this time. And while Guyana bleeds, GCOM is cooking up those books, those SOPs. Watch out for the results. 5, 6, or 7 seats the PPP will snatch from the people of Guyana. God bless.
Here Antibes, here Antibes, here Antibes, Allah.
Feel like